The holographic image appeared in the center of Earth's war room without warning. A tall creature made of what looked like living crystal stood 12 feet high, its body glowing with cold blue light. Ambassador Velthar of the Hegemony Council had come to deliver humanity's final message. Admiral Park Hyun-woo stood at attention with his senior officers around the metal table. The room felt smaller with the alien's massive presence filling the space. General Kim Soo-jin adjusted her glasses and watched the creature with careful eyes. Commander Lee Min-ho, barely 30 years old but already Earth's youngest fleet captain, kept his hand steady on his datapad. Dr. Choi Yoo-na, the scientist who had spent 10 years working on secret projects, held her breath. Species designation, human. Velthar's voice came out like grinding glass. You have expanded beyond your permitted boundaries. Your colonies now occupy 17 worlds that belong to the Hegemony Council's protected space. This is unacceptable. Park said nothing. He had been expecting this moment for months. Human ships had been pushing further into space, looking for new worlds to call home. Earth's population had grown too large, and people needed places to live and work. But the galaxy already had owners. You have 72 standard hours, the alien continued. Remove all human presence from worlds beyond your home system. Take your people, your ships, your equipment. Leave nothing behind. If you refuse, we will use corrective measures. The hologram flickered and showed images of destruction. Planets burned from space, cities turned to glass, entire species wiped from existence. The hegemony had done this before to other races, who had refused to obey. Do you understand these terms? Velthar asked. Park finally spoke. I understand what you're saying, but you don't understand what you're asking. Those 17 worlds have 2 billion human beings living on them. Families, children, grandparents, people who have lived there for generations. We can't move them all in 3 days. That is not our concern, the alien replied. Your species should have thought about consequences before expanding without permission. The galaxy has rules. You will follow them or face the same fate as the others who thought they were special. Kim Soo-jin leaned forward. How many ships are you bringing? The alien seemed amused by the question. Enough. Your primitive vessels number perhaps 400. Our fleet contains 50,000 advanced warships with weapons and shields your technology cannot match. Resistance is pointless. Lee Min-ho looked up from his datapad. What about negotiations? Trade agreements? Surely we can work something out. The time for negotiation ended when you ignored our warning signals. Every species receives one chance to comply peacefully. You have wasted yours. Velthar's crystal body pulsed brighter. 72 hours. Remove yourselves or be removed. The UI hologram vanished, leaving the humans alone in their war room. For long moments nobody spoke. The weight of what they had just heard settled on their shoulders like lead blankets. Can we evacuate them? Park asked quietly. Kim shook her head. Transport ships could maybe carry 10 million people if we used every civilian vessel. That leaves 1,900,000,000 behind. Our military options? Park continued. Lee pulled up displays showing Earth's defense fleet. 412 operational ships. Most are patrol vessels and cargo haulers converted for combat against 50,000 advanced alien warships. He didn't need to finish the sentence. Dr. Choi spoke for the first time since the alien had appeared. Admiral, there might be another way. Park turned to her. What do you mean? Project Prometheus, the quantum tunneling drives, the artificial intelligence system, everything we've been working on in secret for the past 5 years. Her voice grew stronger. The hegemony thinks they know what human technology can do. They've been watching us for decades, studying our ships, our weapons, our tactics. But they don't know about Prometheus. Yuna, the system isn't fully tested, Park said. We've only had successful trials with small objects. Putting entire ships through quantum tunnels could kill everyone aboard. And if we don't try, the hegemony will kill everyone anyway. Choi moved to the room's main computer and began entering commands. The alien fleets fight using traditional space tactics. Ship-to-ship combat at long range. Energy shields that... deflect attacks from outside. They've been using the same methods for thousands of years because they always work. Data filled the wall screens. Ship designs, weapon specifications, tactical formations used by the hegemony in previous conquests. But what if we don't fight from outside? Choi continued. What if our ships appear inside their vessels? What if we use their own assumptions against them? Park studied the information. The hegemony had conquered dozens of species using overwhelming force and superior technology. They expected other races to fight fair, to meet them in open battle where numbers and advanced weapons would decide the outcome. They're coming here expecting us to surrender or die trying to defend ourselves using conventional methods. Park said slowly. They don't know humans very well, do they? Kim smiled for the first time since the alien had delivered the ultimatum. No, sir, I don't think they do. The 72-hour countdown had begun. But instead of preparing for evacuation or surrender, Earth's defenders were about to teach the galaxy's bullies a lesson they would never forget. The hegemony warfleet appeared around Earth like a metal storm cloud. 1,000 alien ships, materialized from faster-than-light travel, their hulls gleaming with energy shields and advanced weapons. From his command bridge, Admiral Park Hyun-woo watched the enemy formation through the main view screen. Sir, they're trying to contact us, reported Communications Officer Bae Jin-a from her station. Put them through, Park ordered. The screen, filled with the image of Commander Thekvar, an insect-like alien with multiple eyes and sharp mandibles that clicked when he spoke. Behind him, other hegemony officers moved around their advanced bridge, confident in their overwhelming superiority. Humans. Thekvar's voice buzzed with amusement. Your 72 hours have expired. We see your pathetic defense fleet positioned around your world. 400 primitive vessels against our 1,000 advanced warships. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Park stood calmly with his hands behind his back. Commander, I have something to tell you about humans. We don't surrender, we adapt. Adapt? Thekvar's mandibles clicked faster. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your ships move like sick animals compared to ours. What adaptation could possibly save you now? You're about to find out. Park nodded to his tactical officer. Cut transmission. All ships, execute Phoenix Protocol. The first wave of human vessels charged directly at the alien formation. 50 ships accelerated toward the hegemony fleet at maximum speed, their crews knowing they faced certain death. It looked like a desperate, suicidal attack by a species that refused to accept defeat. Lieutenant Kang Woo-jin gripped the controls of his fighter as plasma fire lit up space around him. Hegemony energy weapons tore through human ships like paper. The aliens' defensive shields easily deflected every missile and railgun round the humans fired. Within minutes, all 50 attacking ships had been destroyed. Predictable, Thekvar said from his command bridge. The humans fight with courage but no intelligence. Order all ships to advance. We will finish this quickly. The hegemony fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their commanders already, planning the destruction of Earth's cities. They had done this many times before. Other species always fought the same way, using conventional tactics that could never overcome superior technology and numbers. But as the alien ships advanced, something impossible happened. The second wave of human vessels simply vanished. Where did they go? Demanded Thekvar, staring at empty space where 100 human ships had been moments before. His tactical officer checked the sensors again. Sir, they're not on any scanner, they just disappeared. The answer came 30 seconds later when Lieutenant Park Ji-hoon's fighter materialized inside the engine room of a hegemony cruiser. The quantum tunneling drive had worked perfectly, phasing his ship through the alien's hull without triggering their external shields. His ship's nuclear warhead detonated, destroying the massive enemy vessel from within. Across the battle zone, the same scene played out 100 times. Human ships appeared inside hegemony vessels like deadly ghosts, their pilots shouting battle cries as they triggered their weapons. The aliens' advanced shields, designed to stop attacks from outside, offered no protection against explosions that came from their own corridors and reactor rooms. Captain Song Ha-young's modified cruiser phased through the command section of a hegemony dreadnought. This is for everyone you've killed. she said as her ship's reactor went critical. The explosion tore the alien ship apart from the inside. Out, impossible! Tekvar watched 300 of his ships become expanding fireballs in less than 5 minutes. How are they doing this? The third wave of human attacks answered his question. Commander Lee Minho led 50 ships in an assault that defied everything the hegemony knew about space combat. The human vessels moved in 3 dimensions, diving under enemy formations, spiraling around massive battleships, appearing and disappearing, like phantoms. Sergeant Nam Tae-hyun piloted his bomber through a gap between 2 alien destroyers that should have been impossible to navigate. His targeting computer, enhanced with technology reverse-engineered from captured hegemony equipment, locked on to weak points the aliens didn't even know they had. The enemy fleet tried to respond with their traditional tactics. Tekvar ordered his ships into defensive formations that had worked against every species they had ever conquered. But humans didn't fight like other species. They improvised, adapted, and used the aliens' own assumptions against them. "Sir, we're taking heavy casualties," reported Tekvar's tactical officer. "The humans are using some kind of phase technology. They're appearing inside our ships. That's scientifically impossible," Tekvar snarled. "Our intelligence reports show human technology is centuries behind ours." "Then our intelligence was wrong," the officer replied, as another group of hegemony ships exploded from internal detonations. "Admiral." Park watched the battle from Earth's command center. Dr. Choi Yu-na monitored the quantum tunneling drives, making adjustments as the human pilots learned to use their new capabilities in real combat. "Prometheus AI is learning their formation patterns," Choi reported. "Each attack is more precise than the last. The hegemony had come to Earth expecting to face a primitive species that would fight and die according to established rules. Instead, they found themselves battling an enemy that refused to follow any rules at all. The humans were writing new ones as they fought. By the time the first battle ended, half the hegemony fleet had been destroyed by an enemy they had completely underestimated. 6 months after the Battle of Earth, the hegemony controlled space, around human worlds, but they had learned that winning battles and winning wars were completely different things. Every human colony had become a fortress where normal people turned into deadly fighters overnight. On Colony 7, 14-year-old Jang Min-seo sat in her bedroom operating what looked like a simple computer game. But the screen showed real flying machines moving through the streets outside. Her maintenance drones, originally built to fix air conditioning and clean windows, now carried explosive charges toward alien patrol units. "Got 3 more, she said into her headset, watching hegemony soldiers dive for cover as her drones exploded around them. Her grandfather, 70-year-old Huang Daiho, worked in the basement with farming equipment that had been converted into weapons. His crop harvesting machines now dug tunnels under alien positions and planted mines that could destroy entire city blocks. Field Marshal Groktal stood in his command center, studying reports from occupied human worlds. The large reptilian alien had conquered 12 species during his long military career, but humans were different from anything he had faced before. "Sir, we lost another patrol on Colony 7, his aide reported. "Children attacked them with flying bombs. On New Seoul, elderly humans collapsed a shopping center on our troops. Even their machines seemed to fight against us." "How can children be combatants?" Groktal demanded. "How can farming equipment become military weapons? These humans fight without honor or sense, but humans weren't fighting without sense. They were fighting smart." Dr. Yoon Yoonji worked in a hidden laboratory beneath the ruins of New Busan, surrounded by alien technology that her team had captured and modified. Hegemony plasma rifles now powered human railguns, enemy shield generators, protected human missile launchers. She was creating hybrid weapons that combined the best of both technologies. "The integration is working," she reported to Admiral Park through an encrypted communication channel. "Their own weapons are making us stronger. Every piece of equipment they lose makes our fighters more dangerous." Above ground, Sergeant Nam Tae-hyun led a squad of teenagers through bombed-out streets. The youngest was 16, the oldest barely 20. But they moved through their destroyed city like professional soldiers. They knew every hiding spot, every tunnel, Every building that could be turned into a trap. Hegemony Patrol, 12 soldiers coming down Main Street, whispered Private OG Sun from her position on a rooftop. She was 17 years old and had been fighting for 4 months. Let them get to the intersection, Nam replied. Then we spring the surprise. The alien soldiers walked confidently through the human city, their advanced armor and energy weapons making them feel invincible. They had been bred for warfare on dozens of worlds and trained to conquer any enemy. But their training was for conventional battles against organized armies, not guerrilla warfare against an entire population. When they reached the intersection, the street exploded beneath their feet. Not from military explosives, but from modified mining equipment that Nam's people had planted weeks earlier. The surviving aliens found themselves surrounded by humans who seemed to appear from nowhere, firing weapons that shouldn't have existed. Captain Ryu Dong-wook operated from space, commanding what appeared to be a simple trading vessel. For 20 years he had traveled between alien worlds as a merchant, buying and selling goods while secretly mapping hegemony supply routes and communication networks. Now he activated sleeper agents who had been placed throughout enemy territory decades earlier. Phoenix 7 to all units, he broadcast on hidden frequencies. Execute supply line disruption. Hit them where they don't expect it. Across hegemony, space human agents who had posed as traders, diplomats, and refugees for years suddenly revealed their true purpose. Merchant ships that had carried goods to alien worlds now carried bombs. Trading posts became coordination centers for sabotage operations. Even human refugees in alien camps began causing problems for their captors. The hegemony supply ships traveling between their core worlds and the human front lines started disappearing. Communication satellites suffered mysterious malfunctions. Military bases experienced accidents that destroyed equipment and killed personnel. The aliens found themselves fighting not just human colonies, but an invisible network that seemed to be everywhere at once. How did they do this? Demanded Counselor Felthar during an emergency meeting on the hegemony capital world. Our intelligence showed humans as a simple, direct species. They have no experience with long-term planning or complex operations. Our intelligence was wrong, replied General Morketh. The humans have been preparing for this war for decades. Every merchant ship, every diplomatic mission, every refugee group was part of their plan. They've been building a spy network throughout our territory while we thought they were just trading and exploring. Dr. Choi Yuna monitored the war from her command center on Earth, watching as human resistance adapted to every hegemony tactic. The Prometheus AI system learned from every battle, every defeat, every small victory. It studied alien behavior, patterns, and predicted their responses with increasing accuracy. The enemy is beginning to show signs of frustration, she reported to Admiral Park. Their casualty reports indicate they're losing more soldiers to occupation duty than they lost in the original invasion. Some of their commanders are requesting permission to withdraw from human worlds. Park smiled grimly. They wanted to teach us our place in the galaxy. Instead, they're learning that humans don't have a place. We make our own. The hegemony had expected to conquer a primitive species quickly and easily. Instead, they found themselves trapped in a war that grew more expensive and dangerous every day, fighting an enemy that seemed to get stronger with each defeat. Grand Admiral Zorketh commanded the largest fleet in hegemony history, as 10,000 warships moved toward Earth. The massive alien had fought in 37 conquest campaigns and never lost a single battle. His fleet carried planet-killing weapons that could turn entire worlds into lifeless rocks. This time, there would be no human survivors to cause trouble. Sir, we'll reach the human home system in 6 hours, reported his tactical officer. All ships report ready for final assault. The new plasma bombardment weapons are charged and targeting Earth's major cities. Zorketh studied the tactical display from his flagship's bridge. 10,000 ships meant overwhelming firepower. Even if the humans had learned new tricks during the past year of fighting, numbers this large could not be defeated. He would make an example of Earth that every species in the galaxy would remember. On Earth, Admiral Park stood in the war room deep beneath the lunar surface. Around him, his officers prepared for humanity's final battle. Dr. Choi Yuna worked at the massive quantum computer that filled the entire underground chamber. The Prometheus system had been learning and growing for months, studying every hegemony, tactic and weapon. Status report, Yuna, Park said quietly. Prometheus is fully online, sir. The AI has analyzed data from over 300 battles. It knows how hegemony fleets move, how their commanders think, how their weapons work. More importantly, it can predict what they'll do before they do it. Colonel Shinbora monitored Earth's defense network from her command station. What looked like simple orbital platforms and mining stations around Earth were actually components of the most advanced weapon system humans had ever built. Each station was connected to Prometheus, turning the entire solar system into a single enormous war machine. Incoming hegemony fleet detected, announced sensor operator Lim Jae-won. Vector 77 Mark IV, approaching at standard attack. Formation. Prometheus has them, Dr. Choi replied. Immediately, human ships throughout the solar system began moving with impossible coordination. They didn't wait for orders from human commanders. The AI directed every vessel like fingers on a single hand. Commander Ju Sung-min piloted his fighter as part of the first human response wave. But instead of attacking where the hegemony expected, his squadron appeared above the alien formation, diving down at angles that should have been impossible to calculate in real time. How are they predicting our movements, he wondered aloud as hegemony ships fired at empty space, where human vessels had been microseconds before. The answer was Prometheus. The AI had learned that hegemony tactics followed patterns developed over thousands of years. Their commanders made decisions based on established military doctrine that had worked against every previous enemy. But Prometheus could read those patterns and predict responses faster than the aliens could think. Lieutenant Han Soo-jin watched from her gunship as hegemony destroyers opened fire on their own cruisers. The alien ships weren't malfunctioning. They were following correct tactical procedures, moving into formations that Prometheus had carefully manipulated to create friendly fire incidents. Sir, something's wrong with our targeting systems, reported a hegemony weapons officer to his captain. We're firing on friendly vessels. Impossible, the captain replied. Our identification systems are foolproof. But they weren't foolproof against an AI that had studied them for months. Prometheus was feeding false targeting data into hegemony networks, making their own ships appear to be human vessels on their sensors. The aliens were destroying themselves while following standard operating procedures. Grand Admiral Zorketh watched in growing horror as his massive fleet began tearing itself apart. Ships that should have been supporting each other were firing at point-blank range. Formations that had conquered 100 worlds were collapsing into chaos. What's happening? He demanded. Why are our ships attacking each other? Sir, the humans seem to be interfering with our computer systems, his communications officer reported. But that's impossible. Our technology is centuries ahead of theirs. Dr. Choi monitored the battle from her underground command center, watching as Prometheus orchestrated the destruction of the hegemony fleet without firing a single shot. The AI had learned to use the aliens' own weapons, their own tactics, their own formations against them. The enemy is experiencing 93% friendly fire casualties, she reported to Admiral Park. Prometheus is turning their numerical advantage into a weakness. The more ships they bring, the more targets they create for their own weapons. Captain Oh Ji-hoon led a squadron of human vessels through the chaos of the disintegrating hegemony formation. His ships moved between the alien vessels like dancers, never quite where the enemy expected them to be. Every time a hegemony ship tried to target his squadron, Prometheus guided them out of danger and into position to exploit another weakness. The battle lasted only 4 hours. When it ended, the hegemony's mightiest fleet had been reduced to scattered wreckage floating around Earth's orbital space. Less than 1,000 alien ships survived, and most of those were too damaged to fight. Zorketh found himself trapped on a crippled flagship, surrounded by the debris of his once mighty armada. A human transmission reached his bridge, and Admiral Park's face appeared on his view screen. Grand Admiral, Park said calmly, you came here to destroy my world. Instead, you've given us the largest scrap metal collection in human history. We'll put your ships to good use building our own fleet. The alien commander, who had never lost a battle, had just suffered the most complete defeat in military history, destroyed by an enemy that turned his own strengths against him. The Hegemony Council met in their Crystal Palace on Nexus Prime, the capital world that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. But today, fear filled the chamber where once only confidence had existed. Councillor Velthar's translucent body flickered with nervous energy as he addressed the emergency session. The human fleet has taken 23 core systems in the past month, he announced to the assembled alien leaders. Our own weapons are being used against us. Our slave species are rebelling. How did a primitive species accomplish this? The answer came from outside their palace walls, where Captain Ryu Dongwook's strike force had materialized using the same quantum tunneling technology that had started humanity's impossible war. His ships, now a hybrid mixture of human engineering and captured alien technology, tore through defenses that had protected the Hegemony capital for centuries. All Hegemony forces, this is Captain Ryu of the Human Liberation Fleet, he broadcast on all frequencies. Your reign of terror ends today. Surrender, and you will be treated fairly. Continue fighting, and you will share the fate of your war fleets. On planets throughout former Hegemony territory, species that had been enslaved for generations rose up against their oppressors. The Vectari, conquered 300 years ago, used human tactics to break the chains that had bound their world. The Mordun, their planet strip-mined for resources, joined human fleets in coordinated strikes against Hegemony industrial centers. Dr. Choi Yuna's holographic image appeared before the Hegemony Council, her form projected directly into their secure chamber by technology they couldn't understand or block. The alien leaders who had once commanded 50,000 ships now cowered before a human scientist who spoke to them from thousands of light years away. Honorable counselors, she said with polite formality that made her words more terrifying. You wanted to teach humanity our place in the galaxy. Congratulations, you succeeded perfectly. You taught us that the galaxy respects only strength, adaptability, and the will to survive. We learned your lessons very well. Lieutenant Jang Min Seo, now 18 and commanding her own squadron, led the final assault on the Hegemony's military academy, where their greatest warriors had been trained for generations. The same girl who had once operated maintenance drones, from her bedroom now coordinated attacks by 100 ships crewed by humans and freed alien slaves working together. Remember, she told her pilots, these are the ones who trained to conquer us. Show them what humans do to bullies. The Academy's defenses, designed to withstand attacks by traditional fleets, crumbled before human tactics that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. Ships appeared inside buildings, weapons fired from impossible angles, and the galaxy's most elite military school became a pile of smoking rubble in less than an hour. Admiral Park stood before the newly formed Galactic Council in a chamber that had once housed only Hegemony representatives. Now the seats were filled with delegates from dozens of liberated species, all of them looking to humanity for leadership in building a new order among the stars. The age of conquest is over, Park announced to the assembled representatives. The age of cooperation begins today. We will not rule you as the Hegemony did. We will work with you as equals. But make no mistake, anyone who tries to rebuild the old system of oppression will face the same fate as those who created it. Former Grand Admiral Zorketh, the alien who had commanded 10,000 ships only months before, was led past the assembly in restraints. His species had ruled through fear and overwhelming force for a millennium. Now they faced extinction at the hands of the species they had tried to exterminate. Sir, incoming transmission from the Andorian Republic, reported Lieutenant Han Soo-jin from her station aboard humanity's newest flagship. The massive vessel incorporated technology from a dozen different species, creating something entirely new. They're requesting negotiations for a mutual defense pact. Park smiled. Word of humanity's victory had spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had never heard of Earth were now seeking alliances with the race that had brought down the galaxy's greatest empire. Dr. Choi monitored the Prometheus AI from her expanded command center, now housed in a facility that spanned 3 asteroid bases. The artificial intelligence continued its endless learning, analyzing new technologies and preparing for whatever challenges might face humanity among the stars. Prometheus has identified 17 species beyond former hegemony space that show aggressive expansion patterns, she reported to Park. Shall we prepare defensive measures? Prepare everything, Park replied. The galaxy is full of would-be conquerors who think they can do what the hegemony failed to accomplish. They need to understand that humanity doesn't just defend itself. We end threats permanently. Sergeant Nam Tae-hyun, now a colonel commanding ground forces on liberated worlds, worked with former hegemony slaves to build new cities from the ruins of the old oppression. Humans and aliens worked side by side, sharing technology and knowledge that created wonders neither species could have achieved alone. The hegemony had thought humans would back down when faced with overwhelming force. Instead, they had created their own annihilation by awakening something they couldn't comprehend: human potential unleashed upon the galaxy. In the depths of space, human colonies thrived on worlds that had once known only slavery and fear. The age of human submission was over. The age of human ascendancy among the stars had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.